Once every 10,000 years or so, all the stars and planets in our universe align perfectly, and Gaijin Entertainment actually does something really good for War Thunder, and that moment has come. Unfortunately, it is also a limited time April Fool's event. Oh well. In case you didn't know, Gaijin has just dropped a new event called Nuclear Thunder, and it is exactly what it sounds like. If you played the game Nuclear Option, then you already know what this is, because this mode is a complete ripoff. Yes, they straight up took the main mode of that game and put it into War Thunder, and if that's what it takes to improve the air modes, then I'm all for it. The main idea of Nuclear Thunder is that it is an actual battle with a purpose, unlike the glorified deathmatch that is ARB. In this mode, both teams begin with 6 usable airfields that can also be destroyed, and that is the main objective, but not the only objective. Each team also has numerous depots scattered around the map. As far as I can gather, these buildings spawn new ground units which then move into enemy territory and destroy everything they come across. The ground units themselves are also quite varied. You have your tanks and IFVs, but also long-range artillery that keeps pounding the enemy positions. All that is protected by an insane amount of anti-air defenses. There is gun AA in the form of Shilkas and Gepards, there is short-range missile AA like Strelas and Osas, there is medium-range AA like Books and Hawks, and in the very back there is long-range AA, Patriot and S-300 missile launchers. Your job is to slowly push the front line forward by taking out the AA, the ground targets, and eventually the airfields, which can be extremely hard considering the abundance of anti-air systems. But this is where nukes come into play. As the match progresses, you will get access to nuclear bombs that require spawn points to actually spawn in. At first, you can deploy the small nukes, which can wipe out groups of enemy units or deal decent damage to airfields. Eventually, you also get access to medium nukes that deal damage in a much bigger area and can outright destroy a small airfield if enemies fail to intercept you. These are much more expensive, so losing one hurts. Once enough units have been wiped out, both teams get access to the big nukes, which are extremely expensive and can only be delivered in the new strategic bombers, the B-52 and the Tu-95. If you let those drop the bomb on your main airfield, it's game over. The nuke is strong enough to take it out instantly. While this mode has many problems that I'm going to talk about, it is at long last a breath of fresh air for pilots, and even if you're a tank player, I suggest you give it a try. You get a free loadout of planes in this mode, so you don't actually need to bring anything of your own. Now then, let's talk about details. God, I'm excited to talk about this mode, and I haven't been excited about War Thunder in a very long time. You might know me as a War Thunder hater, but I only talk smack in most of my videos because War Thunder has been stagnating for so many years now. And this mode has so much potential to finally save air modes. So that's why I'm so interested in talking about it, and since we started with such a happy note, well, let's continue talking about the good things. So, why is this mode so important? Well, I've said it many times in many of my videos, but the current ARB is just not a good mode. The main problem of ARB is that if you distill it, it is essentially just deathmatch. All that matters in it is getting kills. Nothing else makes sense. Technically, yes, you have the ground targets, the different tanks, emplacements, bases that you can bomb, and even technically you can on some maps bomb the airfield. But ultimately, none of that really matters, right? The airfield, practically speaking on most maps, is just impossible to destroy. The bases, while you can destroy them, they don't do anything. Well, they do something. They drain the same amount of tickets as destroying like 2 artillery emplacements with your machine gun. And ground targets, while yes, you can kill them to win the game, you need to eradicate every single one of them. So instantly we are presented with a problem where the easiest win condition is to just kill the entire enemy team. And if you want to kill the enemy team, you play fighters, or you play planes with air spawn that also have good guns. Nothing else makes sense. If you want to play bombers and bomb the bases, you don't do anything. You are essentially just dead weight. If you want to play attackers and you want to, focus specifically on ground targets, you most likely will not do anything because you don't have time to destroy all the ground targets before you get killed by enemy fighters. And the much bigger problem in general is that ARB does not feel like a battle. All those units on the ground that you can destroy, they don't actually do anything. Yes, they drive around, they sometimes shoot at each other, but there is no point to any of this. The AI on the ground, on their own, they don't do anything. They will never actually win on their own. That is to say, ARB just doesn't have an objective. All that matters is killing people, so you just play fighters and that's it. All other aircraft are just not viable, nothing makes sense, it's only a deathmatch mode. Now this Nuclear Thunder event actually has the potential to replace RB as the main mode. And the reason for it is very simple. The ground stuff actually matters. It's a mode focused not on PvP, but on PvE. And while yes, killing enemies is important to deny them nuke drops, for example, if you want to win, you need to actually participate in the objective. You need to destroy those ground units, those AAs and those airfields. And I like it. I think it's a very nice departure from ARB, where you only have one life. And the whole battle does feel like an actual battle, thanks to all the small ground units actually doing something. Even without getting into details, just looking at ground targets and seeing them actually engage each other is very cool. And not only the tanks and the IFVs, but also all the different artillery vehicles, right? They have the missile launching systems, MLRS or whatever. And there's also these longer range tactical missile launchers. It's all very cool. And the ground targets have the potential to help you as well if you keep them safe. Those tanks, if they push far enough, they will actually destroy the smaller AA emplacements for you, so you do have an incentive to keep them alive and protect your depots. Now I think it would be even cooler if this mode also had like AI helicopters trying to engage the enemy positions, but perhaps there's just no AI for helicopters, I'm not sure. Now, talking about the AA systems scattered across the map, it is cool to have all of those different systems working together. I do have a lot of not so good things to say about them, but I'll mention this later. On the bright side, I think it is cool to have these hotspots of air defense that prevent you from just flying anywhere you want and destroying anything you want. Anti-air in this mode is also capable of shooting down munitions, so if you just throw a couple of missiles at them, they will intercept them. And this actually introduces an element of teamwork into War Thunder. And people for now are just not at all ready to engage in teamwork in air modes, but I think they can get better at this. Basically, if you attack AA emplacements on your own without nukes, you will probably not do much just because they will intercept all of your guided munitions. But if you work together in a squad and you coordinate like a massive attack, then some of your missiles will go through. So since this mod has so much AA, Gaijin has also decided to test the new anti-radiation missiles here. Now I think these are a cool idea and they will probably be decently effective in ground RB, but in this mode, they don't really work at this point in time. Now, what does work, and I enjoy very much, is having 6 airfields, each of them being destroyable. So this is an idea that I've been pushing for as well in one of my videos. I really wanted to have neutral airfields that you can capture, but this is an alternative that I can agree with. Having so many airfields and them being destroyable gives you not only options in where you want to spawn, but also gives the match itself the feeling of progress. Like, if you do poorly and you don't intercept the enemies trying to nuke your airfields, then you get pushed back. And if you actually work together with your team, coordinate, take out those AA emplacements and nuke the enemy airfields, you actually feel like you're doing something. You're pushing the enemies back, and they can only spawn in the very back if you take out their front airfields, for example. That makes it so the enemies have to take more time to get to the battlefield and gives you more time to ground pound, and you actually get this tangible feeling of progress. You compare that to something like ARB, and you can destroy everything the enemy team has, all their bases, most of their ground units, and it's not gonna matter in the slightest. The map doesn't evolve in ARB. As long as the enemy still has tickets, they are still in this game, and all their airfields are invulnerable. But here in Nuclear Thunder, taking out even just a small AA emplacement feels like doing something, because that means you're opening a path for yourself or someone else to run this route without an AA interrupting them. Now, the nukes. What is there to say about the nukes? They're cool and they feel amazing to use. You get to your target, you drop the nuke, you get this huge explosion and a blinding flash, and you get 10 ground targets killed in one drop. It feels amazing. Now, even though the nukes cost spawn points to bring with you, I think they are kind of or very much overpowered in this mode because the AA doesn't actually target your nukes specifically, unlike other ordnance, but I'll talk about that later. The loadout of free planes that the game gives you when you join this event is surprisingly nice and generous from Gaijin. So on the US side, you get a Phantom, the F4E, although it has AIM-9Ls instead of Js. You also get the early A10, you get the A7, you get the Intruder, and I think that's it. Now, on the Soviet side, you get the MiG-23 MLD, you get the Su-25T, you get the Su-24, and I think that's it, actually. So all these planes come spaded, and the crews are aced. I did not expect that from Gaijin. That means that essentially anyone who wants to try the mode can actually try it. There is a big problem with this system, but I'll talk about it later as well. Now, I highly doubt that them giving you free planes to play with will actually stay if this mode becomes its own thing. But I think it would be cool to have at least 1 or 2 free planes. So, if you bring your own fighters, you at least have like one dedicated attacker and maybe one dedicated bomber to work with. Now, obviously, both sides also get the heavy bombers, the new strategic bombers, the American B-52 and the Russian Tu-95, and it is very cool playing them for the first time, dropping the nuke, seeing the huge explosion which ends the game. It's great. Now, will they be viable in the normal game? Probably not. I mean, even in this mode, with all the special protections that they still get shot down very easily. Now, what I think also makes this mode so good is the infinite respawns. The way it works here, unlike in ARB, where you only get 1 life and that's it, in Nuclear Thunder you just need to pay a small SL price every time you want to spawn something. I think it's like 5k SL. And this makes the mode a lot less stressful. You can fly whatever you want, do whatever you want. If you die, it's no big deal. You can just respawn and do it all over again. I think it's a great system for longer games like these, because that means you can spawn something not exactly optimal, like maybe you want to just have fun in the A10, fly around, shoot ground targets. You can definitely do that. Of course, you will die doing this, but it's no big deal. And once you do die, well, you could respawn in your air superiority fighter to respond to a threat that has just emerged. Or maybe you're saving up for, the big nuke to spawn the big bomber. Overall, it's a great system for the majority of players because, not everybody is like a professional air player. Not everybody knows how to dogfight and do all this properly. It's great because it allows these people to fly and have fun and not worry about dying. So overall, conceptually, in theory, this mode is amazing. It has amazing potential. It legitimately has a chance to save air modes of this game. That's not to say that, ARB or Arcade or Sim are dead, but they are hated. These modes are hated for a reason. And Nuclear Thunder addresses almost every single one of those reasons. Does it succeed? Not really, we'll get to that, but the potential is here. And I think the sheer popularity of this mode is proving it. You might have noticed that the game is super laggy right now, and that's because everyone is getting on. Everyone is booting up War Thunder just to play this mode. And people are not just playing this mode. I've noticed in my games, everyone is actually sticking until the very end of the game. And the matches in this mode, they last 1 hour and 20 minutes. Needless to say, I think even Gaijin themselves did not expect this mode to be as popular and successful. So all they need to do is elaborate on it, work on it further, to actually implement it into the game. Now, obviously, if they are to implement this into the game, it's not going to be the same way. It's probably not going to be with nukes, or maybe with very few nukes. But they must preserve the basic structure of this mode. This is the path to success, and surely, I really hope, I pray that they see the success of this mode and understand why it's successful. Not just because of the nukes, but because it makes air gameplay that much better. So that's what I like about the mode. But we have to talk about the downsides, because there is so much wrong with this mode that, honestly, objectively looking at this mode in a vacuum, it's pretty bad. Now, first of all, bugs. Yes, there is bugs, there's plenty of them. Those are not so important, they will be fixed. For example, I was playing the Phantom, I had a nuke. So I spawned in a Phantom with a nuke, and I saw that my airfield was about to get bombed, so I J'd out. The airfield did get bombed, and got destroyed. So now, because I J'd out on the airfield, the game only allowed me to spawn that Phantom with the nuke on that airfield. But that airfield was already destroyed, so basically my Phantom with the nuke got soft-locked and I couldn't use it for the rest of the game. But again, the bugs are whatever. That's not the main focus of what I want to talk about. Right now, by far, the biggest problem of this mode that might actually kind of kill its popularity over time is the balance. So as I've said before, both sides get a set of default vehicles that everybody spawns in with. Now, the best American plane, like objectively, is the Phantom, F4E. The best Soviet plane is the MiG-23 MLD. That Phantom in regular games is 11.3, but in this mode it gets 9 Ls, so let's say it's 11.7 material. And MiG-23 MLD is already 11.7. So these default planes, they're balanced around fighting each other, and similar BR aircraft. However, for some reason that I cannot for the life of me understand, Gaijin allows you to bring your own planes, but not just the planes of like 11.7, maybe 12 OBR, they allow you to bring 13.0 planes in this mode. So what that means is that somebody who's only using the default vehicles will have to face 13.0 aircraft the entire game. And that means the F4E Phantom has to face MiG-29 or Yak-141 with their R-27ER missiles, which are vastly superior to the Sparrows. And people who are playing on the Soviet side have to use their MLD and face the American F-15A and the F-14, the Iranian one with the Fakurs. If you're not very good with these aircraft matchups, let me break it down for you. Basically, this means that if you're using default vehicles in this event, you are getting farmed. You will get killed over and over and over by people who brought their 13.0 fighters, and there's nothing you can do about it. It is completely unbalanced. All they had to do, at least for this event, is to at least reduce the BR of the planes that you can bring with you to 12.0 maximum, not 13.0. So yeah, the PvP balance is completely broken, people are getting farmed left and right. It's not that great to play this mode, honestly, right now, because people have figured it out and are just playing to grief other players. So that's for PvP. Now, as for PvE, there are also plenty of problems. And most of these problems have to do with the anti-air systems. It's cool that we have all these different AAs in this mode, but there is too many of them and they are too strong. So first, what's immediately apparent when you start playing this mode and you take off for the first time, you are getting locked and launched at by AAs all the time, permanently everywhere. Like, if you climb even just a little bit, you get locked on and launched at everywhere, unless you fly off to the very side of the map. That would be fine if these were like some weak short-ranged AAs, but no, you will get launched at by like medium and long-range AAs, and unless you properly evade, you will get slammed over and over and over again. And the result of all this is that everybody is just hugging the deck the entire match. Nobody's climbing, everybody is just skimming the ground, because as soon as you climb even to 1 kilometer, you just get launched at non-stop. And you know, this is bad enough for fighters, but this makes playing ground attackers like super annoying. If you're trying to destroy ground targets, obviously you want to have altitude to be able to launch your guided munitions further. But you cannot get any altitude, otherwise you're risking getting blown up immediately. And if you're flying an attacker, you're probably also slower, which makes evading these AA missiles even harder. And if you do decide to ground pound without nukes, oh, that's just not great in this event. So here's the issue. All the anti-airs in this mode also target all of your munitions. So whatever you launch at the AAs, they will also immediately target and destroy. So as I've said, on one hand, it promotes teamwork. On the other hand, that means if you don't have any squad mates to play with, if you try to attack anything on your own, you cannot physically do anything. The only way for you to destroy something is to load like dumb rockets and get super close to the AA somehow without dying and either gun it down or spam rockets at it. And once you see how many anti-airs there are everywhere, and don't forget there are also enemy fighters trying to kill you, this makes PvE without nukes just kind of a joke, honestly. Now, Gaijin did give us these new anti-radiation missiles to try and, rectify this problem, make dealing with AA a little bit easier. The issue with these missiles in this mode is that you will just never find an opportunity to actually use them. First of all, they will get shot down just like any other guided munition, so that's already no good. But even besides that, just locking them onto target is so immensely hard. Like, you will actually go crazy trying to lock them onto one of those small AAs, Because whenever you're actually trying to lock onto a small AA somewhere, there's always a much bigger, more powerful raider all the way in the back near the enemy last spawn. And that big raider always attracts the attention of the anti-radiation seeker. They are so clunky, and I've tried using them, I couldn't do anything. These missiles, in the context of this mode, they just don't work. And neither does any of the normal anti-ground stuff in general, unless you have a squad of people to coordinate with. Now that problem gets solved entirely by nukes. And that's not just because the nukes are powerful, that's because the AAs don't target the nukes specifically. And while that's great for actually using nukes because you don't have to worry about them getting shot down, that does make regular ground attack stuff just completely useless and pointless. Now, I get that the nukes are the point of this event and they are fun, but they are so powerful to the point where it doesn't make any sense to use anything else. As soon as you can get enough spawn points to buy a nuke, you should always buy it and just spam it endlessly. Because if you drop a nuke and can then return to the airfield and rearm, you get another nuke for free. No need for extra spawn points. So the game loop kind of degrades into just getting a lot of kills initially with PvP, because PvE is not worth it. And as soon as you farmed enough spawn points, you just spawn nukes and you spam nukes all the way until the end of the game. I think for a mode like this to work without these invincible nukes, they would have to do a lot of changes. Maybe they could keep this mechanic where the AA targets your munitions, but they would have to do one of two things. They would have to either make the map bigger, so there's actually space to maneuver between these AAs, or they would have to reduce the amount of AAs, because as of right now, it is just so insanely hard to get anywhere even close to these AAs to destroy them. I'm not arguing against the AAs, I think they are needed in this mode, they do provide interesting gameplay, but as of right now, there's just too many of them and they are too strong. Like, at the very basic level, it's just not fun to fly around and constantly get launched at by these anti-airs. You are permanently locked or scanned or launched at. Now, the strategic bombers, the big guys with the big nukes, while they are super cool, the way they're implemented right now is not great. So to get them, you need to wait for the game to be like at least halfway over until you can actually spawn them in, and you need to grind 2500 spawn points, which takes a very long time. Once you actually get these points, you spawn in the air very close to the enemy's final airfield, and you just press the button and you win. But that's if you get lucky. If you don't get lucky, then one of the enemy players will just be flying around near the bomber spawns waiting for you. And as soon as they see you, it's over for you. You cannot defend yourself. These bombers are so incredibly vulnerable, even with these like jamming systems, that you will die without doing anything. Now, I'm not complaining about the fact that these bombers can be shot down. I think that's good. I think the problem with the current implementation is that you either just fly in a straight line and end the game, that's it, or you get instantly annihilated, which is a lot more likely. Once you understand what's going on, you're basically just trying not to die to these overpowered 13.0 planes that other people have brought in. You're hoping to get enough points to spawn a nuke, and once you do spawn a nuke, all you do is just spam it endlessly. So in a nutshell, playing this mode for a little bit is great, it's fun, it really shows you what this game could be if Gaijin actually pays attention and puts in effort. But if you play it for a long time, it gets kind of very bad and annoying to play. Especially if you are not one of those people who are bringing in 13.0 planes to farm everybody else. So once this is over, all Gaijin needs to do is, for the love of God, just pay attention to this, understand why this event succeeded, and keep this formula as its own game mode. So hey Gaijin, listen, you need to keep the big maps, keep the 6 airfields on them, maybe a little bit less if we're not gonna have nukes. Keep all those varied ground units and the buildings that spawn them, this is important. This is the element that makes you actually feel like you are participating in a real battle. Keep the infinite respawns and maybe also let us have like a couple of free planes that everybody gets no matter what plane they bring into the game. Keep all these different AA systems, it's great, they are interesting, but maybe tone them down a little bit so people can actually play this mode and fly around without permanently getting pestered by them. You know, maybe give them actual ammo, maybe make it so they have to actually reload, so they aren't just permanently shooting everything down. Hell, maybe you can add even more units into this mode, like helicopters. I'm not sure about player-controlled, but AI-controlled for sure. Have not just depots on the map, but also these helipads that spawn friendly helicopters that try to help you with destroying the AA. That would be cool. So keep these elements, add this as a separate game mode, and holy moly, you're gonna have so many people praising you for once. Like me, I'm gonna praise you if you do this. Please, Gaijin. But while all this is great for top tier players, what I would kill for is a similar mode, but for all other aircraft. So, from reserve tiers to, I don't know, Korean era aircraft. And that's not just because I prefer those aircraft, yes, I do. That's because most of this game's player base does not have top tiers. You kind of also need to give something to players who haven't reached top tier, or have reached it, but don't like it very much. So this same kind of mode in a World War II setting would go so incredibly hard, it would just be, I don't know, the best thing to ever happen to War Thunder. You wouldn't even have to change much. Keep the tanks that push forward to the front line, keep the artillery that tries to destroy the enemy emplacements, keep the emplacements, different kinds of AA, with short range, medium range, and maybe long range. All the same buildings that also spawn ground units. God, that would be so good. It would actually give all aircraft types a purpose. Unlike right now, where especially at World War II BRs, only the fighters are relevant. The bombers and attackers, they just have no purpose whatsoever. But in a mode like this, oh my god, everything would have a purpose. The heavy bombers would destroy the small anti-air from altitudes where it just cannot reach. This would open the routes for smaller fighters and attackers to go through and attack the longer range anti-airs, which would then, in turn, let the heavy bombers progress further. The more I think about this, the more I want this. A mode like this in World War II. Please, Gaijin, I beg of you, please introduce something like this. It would make the lives of all the new and casual players who play this game so much more fun. Because playing the World War II aircraft right now is just a chore. It is no surprise that most people either just don't play them or skip them. Let your new players have fun too. Don't gatekeep all these super fun modes and features only to top tiers. Please, Gaijin, for the love of God, do this. And surely you see the potential in this mode. You see the absolute craziness that's going on your servers right now. People want this. So please, give us this mode. So that's my opinion. Again, some people consider me to be like the biggest hater of War Thunder, but I am excited for this like I haven't been excited in such a long time. Either way, a great big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. And to everyone else, thank you for sticking around, and I'll catch you in the next video.